Mint is offering 50% off unlimited premium.
Where do you think self-esteem comes from?
Gosh, I wish we knew. I mean, I think the first thing to say is it's a bit of a mystery. If we knew how to bottle this stuff, if you look at the differences between what human beings achieve, it isn't easily explained by intelligence. Everything shows that broadly speaking, intelligence accounts for the smaller portion of the massive differences in achievement. And that's galling. It isn't what the school system is really about. And I think, a lot of achievement is about imagination, and it's about breaking through obstacles to
breaking through the barrier to get you to an X frame point, an X reference point, or just an X point where you can actually become better, where you can actually become a better version of yourself, because creativity only becomes creative once it's in the field of play.
Dreaming of a better world, a more interesting world, etc. Self-esteem is somewhere in that story, because I think self-esteem is about saying, it might happen with me. This thing I could be in charge of this thing, whatever it is. And I think class plays a role here. One of the great injuries of a working class background is that it tends to give you a sense that other people are controlling the world, and you have to negotiate the obstacles they put in.
You have to negotiate the obstacles that they put in front of you. So, we all have obstacles. Whatever those obstacles are, you know what they are. So do what you need to do. I'll be right back. drink. Oh, I need some food. Which I'll do that after the video.
Place, but you don't get to remove those obstacles. You just have to work your way around them. Typical middle class upbringing, middle class in the UK sense. You get imbued with a feeling that human beings like you make the world.
True,
And
very true.
that raises your self-esteem. Traditionally, it's an enormous difference to, if your uncle happens to be, the guy in the civil service who does whatever, or your slightly annoying second cousin, works in the treasury or something. This changes your sense of reality because you think, well, of course I can do something because look at those not that impressive people who I once saw around the kitchen, etc. So
Very true.
a lot about self-esteem is thinking, how do I stack up next to other people? Is the world shaped by gods or, broadly speaking, by people like you and I?
Yeah.
I know we're in a religious place and you must be seeming godly to the audience, but the good thing is you're not. And I think, that's one of the good things about modern technology is that it's helped to show the world that because it's given a very granular, close-up sense of people in so-called positions of power or authority, etc. And that's helped to kind of level the imaginative playing field in a way. So
You feel closer to them?
you feel closer to them, you see that, they're humans too. And that can be inspiring.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it.
There was an incident that a friend had when recording a podcast, which I needed a name for, and we've come to call it a yogurt lid moment. So he was sitting down to record with a very famous author, and he's idolized this guy for a very long time, and titan of literature. Sitting down, his camera team are all setting everything up, and he's in the guest's house, and the guest says, "Would you mind if I went and got a yogurt?" And he's like, "Well, it's your house, your yogurt, please continue." The guest walks away, goes to the fridge, and opens it up, gets yogurt out, sits down opposite my friend. Everyone's still pottering around. And my friend sat opposite this guy that he'd revered for decades, just saw as this sort of untouchable demigod, watched him look at the yogurt, take the lid off, put it up to his face, and then lick the lid of the yogurt. And he said, at that moment, the veils fell from my eyes, and I saw him as the fallible human and it's the yogurt lid moment, this sort of weird, mortal trip.
Think of the way that we're introduced to life, really. We start off very small and we're surrounded by very large people who seem to know how to do extraordinary things. They can throw a ball over a tree. They can, they know how to speak a foreign language. They can do very complicated maths, etc. And we are tiny. And it takes such a long time to think, actually, these gods, these colossi are just human. So, the number one sort of class differentiator is childhood, as it were, because we all start in this very subordinate class, which is the child, and we then look up to the adult. I mean, think of those times when, I don't know if you had this, but you're at school and then it's the weekend and you go to the shops and suddenly you see the French teacher in the aisles of the shop and you think, what's that person doing there? There's Mr. Gregory, he's buying cereal, and you think that guy is just, it comes back to your yogurt point. It's that guy's human, and we're always catching up with that idea. X or Y is human. And isn't it interesting that very basic thought is still always a bit of a surprise. We're always on the back foot with that insight.
Why is that related to self-esteem? Why is self-esteem not contained within our own system?
Well, Chris, because we've got this very unfortunate thing that we know ourselves from the inside and we know other people only from what they choose to tell us. And so we've got this massive imbalance of data.
You only know what's on the inside, but only people choose what you want to tell. You can choose whatever thing you want to tell. You can choose a story, the characters. You can choose whatever you want to tell. Depends upon how you look at it. And it's sort of a Hold on,
Other people only from what they choose to tell us.
What they choose to tell us. See, now you can choose to tell people what you want to say, but do you really know that that is not the so-called full truth of what they're hiding behind? Because what they're hiding behind could be anything from like a monster to a pedophile. You don't know until they truly understand everything of what they're truly trying to accomplish or say. If that makes sense, you know.
And so we've got this massive imbalance of data. And we are so weird to ourselves and so embarrassing and so flawed. And anyone with a modicum of self-awareness is going to have, if they're honest, should have a slightly hard time tolerating themselves. Because the stuff that goes on in our minds, is, if it was published, I mean, we'd all be, excommunicated immediately. That's not a sign necessarily that we're so degenerate. It's just a sign that we're having still a very hard time admitting what it is to be human at an interpersonal level.
And many what it is to be human on an interpersonal level. We all have different interpersonal communications of how we talk, of how we say, of how we do things. But it kind of unravels our own little world of how we interact with other people interpersonally, if it's to a friendship, to a relationship, to whatever. Everybody has their own ways and heuristics of saying what they want to say and how they want to do it in their very own little way. Which is why you're different than everybody else.
Still, despite all these ways we have of sharing data, it's still a sort of surprise. I mean, you know what it's like in a relationship or a close friendship when, late at night you're able to go to your new pal, you're able to go, do you ever have that thing when? And they go, yeah, that thing. And no one's ever mentioned it. No, there's still a societal silence. And then the intimacy that grows from being able to say, we're a bit weird. Now, the truth is, we're a bit weird like everybody else.
Agreed,
but there is still an imbalance of knowledge and a sense. I mean, you know that thing where kids say things like, my family's so weird. Other people's families are so normal. I went to Billy's family. They, his mum's really normal. Why are you so weird? And then, of course, in time you realise Billy's family's not normal. You just don't know them.
Yep.
We don't know other people as well as we know ourselves.
We don't know. Oh, I like that. We don't know other people as well as we know ourselves. You only know yourself as thyself. You can change yourself. You can redirect thyself. You can change yourself in any way, shape, or form. It just people don't know you until you truly unravel and truly tell them your story. Because if they don't know your story, then they don't know how the hell you became to be. Make sense?
We tend to think that those close to us are a bit more mad than anybody else. We go, my mum, she's really mad, or my ex are really mad. I mean, this goes on in the dating world, relationship world, where men will go, women are so crazy. Women are really crazy, and then in the female camp, women are going, oh, men are just really, And you want to go, look, guys. It's both. It's everybody. It's not men. It's not women. It's not the young. It's not the old. It's everybody close up. It's just that we often have the privilege of not knowing people close up enough, and therefore we still retain illusions. I mean, you get this in travel, right? People go, "Oh, the Greeks. Well, they're better than us. We've got all these flaws. Or the Americans, they have a certain whatever." And then, of course, once you're inside that society, you go, "Nah, it's the same everywhere." But anyway, we've got to have illusions and. Bless us.
So the closer that people get to you, the more you see their flaws, but unfortunately, no one is ever going to be as close to you as you are. And
I like that. So nobody can truly see your flaws besides you do, and nobody's as close as you do as you are as your flaws, which we are the back of that hand, the back of that pen, the back of the felt. The felt is the skin and the hood that is yet to be unraveled, and the story that is yet to be told to other people, because people don't know you until you tell that story to other people.
you have this huge asymmetry, 1,000,000 to 1
Yep.
of the bit rate of data that you're able to see of yourself, and the vacillations, the self-doubt as you ping pong back and forth. Should I go? I don't know if I should go and buy that. I don't know if I should get that pair of shoes. I should get the pair. I'm not going to get that pair of shoes. No, I might do. And you go to sleep and you think, I spent last night staying awake wondering about whether or not I was going to buy a pair of shoes. I'm insane. I mean, I must be committed, not knowing that that is the sort of thought that even you wouldn't tell your spouse. I didn't sleep well last night. Why? I was thinking about this pair of shoes. It's so mundane and boring that you don't even share that sort of thing.
The other thing is, from the inside, it's very hard to know who you are. And one of the interesting things is how people go a bit mad when they've spent too long alone. And if you spend a long time alone, you don't know, certain thoughts go a little too far. And one of the great things about company, why do we need other people? Just to be able to kind of hold us slightly in check in small ways and large. They kind of go, no, that thought is getting a little too extreme, whatever. They define us. But also, the other thing that people help us to do, other people, is give us a compact sense of who we are that eludes us. So I see you and I go, there's Chris. Now, when you're all alone, you don't think you're Chris. You just think, I'm consciousness in the universe. I'm just a giant net that's...
What you're trying to see is, what I'm trying to say is that what he was saying was, you don't think of yourself as yourself. You think of yourself as consciousness.
Just to be able to kind of hold us slightly in check.
And company keeps us a hold of us and check in the wheel. Just up a little bit. There we go. And company keeps us in check because without company, you aren't anything besides company, if that makes sense. And company keeps us in check because other people don't know what truly keeps you in check when you know how to shut the fuck up. Which is why you can talk about one thing for a while and you can say a lot of stuff about one thing. Like, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet for y'all. Because I could make this part 2 or part 1 video go till like here, and it would probably be like an hour and a half of just me just talking and yapping, adding on to whatever the hell they're saying.
Always and large. They kind of go, no, that thought is getting a little too extreme, whatever. They define us. But also, the other thing that people help us to do, other people, is give us a compact sense of who we are that eludes us. So I see you and I go, there's Chris. Now, when you're all alone, you don't think you're Chris. You just think, I'm consciousness in the universe. I'm just a giant net that's capturing thoughts and impressions. You don't know that you have a name, a beginning, a middle, or an end, etc. And when we're in company, people go, oh, you're that guy who does this, or, so other people's caricatured vision of us is actually quite helpful to us because you think,
I'm actually quite helpful. Because without that perspective, without that understanding of what they're truly trying to do, what they're truly trying to know, and what they're truly trying to accomplish, they will not know everything and everything. Which is why they keep us to a higher standard, which is why you need friends that keep you at a higher standard than you do. Because if you don't have people like that in your life, then what is the point of them being in your life? Just had to speak that.
I'm that relatively simple soul that other
unifies us, gives us a sense of story.
Yeah. And also because, if I look...
Well, so Chris gives us a sense of story. It unifies us. It puts us together. Puts the missing pieces in the puzzle of our lives, of our story, of our reference point, of our understanding of everything. It puts us in together of everything that we need to know about oneself. Puts us all together. Like a rabbit foot on a foot of a rabbit. Or on a hamster on a wheel. That's the same thing with the JP quote when hamster and cheese, it pulls with fear, it pulls a lot harder. That's just a summed up quote of what Chris has said, and also not trying to quote Chris for Chris, but quoting JP for Jordan Peterson. It's the same thing with us. If we're afraid, like for me, I'm afraid to post this video. Like I'm probably going to end it at probably maybe 15 minutes because I don't want to make it way too long where it completely loses the engaging of the viewer. Like, I like to keep my videos short and sweet, because without the short and sweet, I could talk about that one topic for 30 minutes if I really wanted to, which I'm afraid to. But at the same time, I need to make content. The more content I make, the better it is for the viewer. That's the way I look at it.
You look unified. You've got 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. etc. You're relatively compact, etc. But inside you, I don't feel any of that. It's a vast, shapeless landscape.
Well said.
Is this is self-esteem related to imposter syndrome? I think imposter syndrome was already something that I was seeing a lot of, and now I'm seeing more about increasingly this sense that the world expects something of me that maybe I've even actually done previously, but I'm scared about whether or not I'm going to be able to deliver it.
I like it.
Look, I know imposter syndrome causes people problems, but I'm reassured if somebody suffers from imposter syndrome. It's a sign of honesty. It's a sign of self-awareness. Of course, it has its extreme versions, which, causes people a lot of pain. But if someone is aware that they might be a charlatan or might be pulling off a confidence trick, that's honesty. That's great. That's a starting point. It's just like somebody who knows they might be evil is a good person. Evil people don't worry.
Oh, evil people do not worry at all. Just to think about evil people, they don't worry about jack shit. I know that firsthand because I've seen evil people come and I've seen evil people go. Some of them are good friends, some of them are not. And the way I look at it is, imposter syndrome is not because you're an imposter, it's because you're being an imposter of yourself. Hold on. Oh, I'm just getting bad reflex. And knowing that imposter syndrome is only just being an imposter of what the hell you're truly trying to be an imposter about tells you one thing or the next thing, that imposters are imposters of your life, of frame of reference, of whatever. Imposters are imposters. If you look at it in a way where imposters are not the syndrome, just a cure, imposter is just being in a different position as what the hell you're truly trying to do and what the hell you're truly trying to accomplish within this life. Because if you're not an imposter, you do not deal with the syndrome. Because you must be an imposter to become what the syndrome has delegated its time, reference point, and frame of point of interest on this so-called thing, which is imposter syndrome.
They might be evil. So it's, you're likely to be authentic and genuine if sometimes you think, am I a fake? That's a good sign.
It's a good starting point in the same way as identifying that you're a bad driver is a good starting point for not driving fast. But it doesn't necessarily make you better on the roads. So where do we go to? Where is becoming a better driver? Okay, my imposter syndrome, thank you, Alain. You've told me that I'm not so up my own arse that I can't see my own flaws. Hooray.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I only pay for what I need. What a great day. What an okay day. What a messed up.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Gaza's population is on the brink of famine. Every hour counts. Children are starving to death. Make a donation. Support these humanitarian organizations. This cannot wait. This is not a debate. This is our job as human beings.
What about starting to work through that? What about starting to get a better sense of our own capacities and capabilities?
Look,
What about getting a better sense of, like why would I walk back? I walk back to something good. Why do I keep on doing this to myself? Oh well. Go back.
They might be evil. So it's, you're likely to be authentic and genuine if sometimes you think, am I a fake? That's a good sign.
Are you a fake? I don't know. You tell me if you're fake. You tell me if you're real. You tell me if you're stubborn. You tell me if you're imposter of your own life. You tell me this, and I'll be like, I don't know what to tell you. Besides change. It's the best piece of advice I can leave you with right now. Is just bloody change.
It's a good starting point in the same way as identifying that you're a bad driver is a good starting point for not driving fast.
Yep.
But
True.
it doesn't necessarily make you better on the roads.
Yes.
So where do we go to? Where is becoming a better driver? Okay, my imposter syndrome, thank you, Alain. You've told me that I'm not so up my own arse that I can't see my own flaws.
I can't see my own flaws. Well said. Well said. I don't think I need to put a stick even deeper up your ass to explain that more. But yeah. And just putting a stick up your ass, like, what flaws are you looking for? What identity are you looking for? What thing are you looking for? Because we all have different things in the way of life.
Hooray. What about starting to work through that? What about starting to get a better sense of our own capacities and capabilities?
Better sense of our own capacities.
Look, a lot of it.
Capabilities. We all have capacities. We all have capabilities along those capacities. Depends on what the capacity is, what it is doing to you. And the way I look at it is we can all have different ways of doing things in our own capacities and in our own abilities. We have the inability to do what we want, say what we want, believe what we want, act upon how we want, do the things that we want to do. Now, what are the capabilities of those things that are stopping you from doing the things that you want to do, of stating the things you want to state, of being that version of yourself and being that best version for the girlfriend, for your future self, or even for your siblings? Because it is only a family and relationship matter. How is this impacting your relationships? How is this impacting yourself? How is this impacting everything along this life of modern wisdom? Because without wisdom, there is no power. There is no tyranny. There is no understanding. There is no belief system. There is just power.
Bouncing against the world and testing yourself against reality. It's very hard to know your talents until you've had a go at something. And I think we all have this sense sometimes that some things come more easily to us than to others. I don't know how great tennis players start, but they must have a sense, ooh, I was able to hit that ball and that worked quite well. Or a great writer is able to think, I was able to pull off quite a nice little sentence there. And that's the big.
The only way that you can show your true talent is that if you try in the deep end of the water and throw your kid in and say swim. If not, he will not learn how to swim with the sharks. Because the sharks, when they are hungry, the sharks fucking eat. And when they fucking eat, they devour. Just think about that for a little bit. I'll let that sink in.
Beginning of a kind of growing confidence. And you need that kind of start. And I think a good life doesn't require you to do everything. It requires you to do the things that you feel you're capable of and that you're especially good at. It's no humiliation for me that I can't play tennis, for example. If somebody goes, you're terrible at tennis, because I don't sense a talent, but I do sense talent in that tiny area of assembling words. That's the area that, but maths I can't do, architecture I can't really do, etc. So many things I can't do. So it's about finding those little sweet spots. And one of the great puzzles in life is, how do people find their vocation? How do people find their core identity, their talents? And I sometimes think of it as, it's like you're passing a metal detector over the ground, and very occasionally.
Core identity and core talent. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Breathe. Breathe. Okay, breathe. Okay. And so the core identity and core talents, you know what them are. For me, that's, of course, was not swimming, but tennis, making content. I think that's a core identity or core talent. Being able to speak whatever I want to say, if it's over the internet or if it's with a group of friends, because they'll either laugh with you or they'll laugh, cry, or stay in the mud with you. Because if they're not real friends that stick along in the mud, then what's the point of having that communication or that friendship? What's the point? If they're not there for you with your hardships, with your hard struggles, with your hard disciplines, what is the point of them being there for you? Me, being a broken man of multiple different attributes, knows that true friendship only comes and it goes. It comes and it's flawed, and it's beautiful when it's very flawed within your very own rays, or very young eyes. I don't know why I said rays. I mean, we are taken in rays and whatever, sun. You know what I mean. Sun rays and gamma rays and whatever. It's not eyesight, it's ray sight. How we see the different rays and colors and textures and everything. Like just this. It's beautiful wall background. You guys can't see it because I have to pay $100 per month just to have a better camera quality. No thank you. Like, no thank you. I'm good. I don't care.
Something will let off a little beep of intensity, of interest, of heightened thoughtfulness. And you think, there's a fragment here below the ground of my true self. Now, my true self was shattered, or it came in disassembled form. It's buried, it's scattered over a vast area. And the task of life is to recreate it from hints. And I think that, you know, one of the great challenges, I think one of the big challenges, and it happens to every young person, is...
Like and subscribe. I'll make another video for future references. Just I need the time to calm down. Peace.